Hello everybody. This video is to review how to do the worksheet that is located under the discriminant checkpoint. So as you can see, the directions say to find the root, the zeros, and the vertex of the quadratic, and then to also sketch a graph of the quadratic. So looking at number 1 here, in order to find the zeros, what I'm going to do is the quadratic formula. So in order to do the quadratic formula, I'm going to look at this and see that the A value is -1, and B is 4, and C is -1. So those are the coefficients there. And so I take that and I plug into the quadratic formula, and so you guys can sing along with me. -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Alright, so we plug into the quadratic formula there, and most of us get that part just fine. Now we have to put it into the calculator. So when we put it in the calculator, the part that I'd like to do first is, in the calculator, is the part underneath the radical here. So I'm going to keep the -4 plus or minus the square root of something over 2 times -1, a being -1, which is -2. And the first thing I'm going to put in my calculator, is b squared minus 4 times a times c. And I've got 12 for that. So now I'm going to put the numerator of this fraction in the calculator. So when I put that in, I've got -4 plus square root of 12. -4 plus square root of 12. I get that answer and divide it by -2. There's my first answer. And we've got -4 minus square root of 12. Divide that by -2. We've got our second answer. I'm going to round that up. Okay, so those are my zeros, and all zeros because they're the place where the graph will cross the x-axis here. So let's go ahead and graph those. 0.2 and 3.7, a little bit more than 3.5. Okay, the next step is to find the vertex. The vertex is located at the axis of symmetry here at -b over 2a. So we're going to use the same a, b, and c that we already have, and we'd have -4 over 2 times -1. So that's going to give us -4 over -2, which is 2 for the x value. Now we'll plug that back in to find the y value. So we have y equals -2 squared plus 4 times 2 minus 1. Okay, well that's -4 plus 8 minus 1, which gives us 3. So the vertex is at 2 for the x and 3 for the y. So I can come to my graph and come to 2, 3, and there's my vertex. Now I can just draw in the parabola. Okay, so let's go over the steps on how to do these problems. This is for the discriminant checkpoint, and for the first 6 questions, what you have to do is use the quadratic formula, -b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, to find the zeros. And when you get the zeros, what you do is you graph them on the x-axis. So whatever decimals you get, you'd graph them. Then the second thing you do is you find the vertex using -b over 2a, and whatever value you get for x, you have to plug that back into the equation to find the y value. So now let's look at what you're going to do on the back. On the back of the paper, I asked you to just find the discriminant. So to find the discriminant is -b over 2a. So you're just going to plug into just that part of the quadratic formula. Just this part of the quadratic formula is called the discriminant. So you're just going to plug in that part and you're going to get a number. And whatever number you get, your answer is going to either be positive, negative, or 0. If you get a positive answer, that means that there's 2 real solutions. If you get a negative, there's no real solutions. There are 2 imaginary. 0, there is 1 real solution. So let's look at the back of this paper. And let's see if we can find the discriminant for this first one. First of all, this is not in standard form, so I cannot just look at it and see the a, b, and c. I need to make it equal to 0. So I'm going to move the 4 over to the other side by adding. Plus 4 equals 0. So what I did right there is I just add 4 to make it equal 0. So now I can see that the a value is 1, the b value is 4, and the c value is also 4. So plugging into my discriminant, I'm going to have b squared minus 4ac. That's 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times c is 4. Okay, so this looks like it's giving me 16 minus 16. Well, that's 0. Okay, so since I got 0 from my discriminant, that means that there is 1 real solution. And that is how you complete all of the problems on this paper.